up, everybody, and welcome to the Passionate DJ Podcast. I'm your host, David Michael, and with me is my co-host, the one and the only, Mr. Tony DeCero.
Hey.
What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man?
You're popping through for like a hot second while you can.
Yes.
And you're traveling along with a friend. How do you want me to introduce you to the podcast audience, name-wise?
Marcus.
Marcus?
Mm-hmm.
Our friend Marcus is hanging out with us today, and you guys are stopping through on your way to where?
Columbus.
Mm-hmm. So what's going on? Well, first of all, let's introduce Marcus.
Yeah, let's do that.
You have a history of it as a DJ, and
Yes.
you're a tractor scratch guy like me, so
Yes.
we could talk tractor all day.
Talk tractor, talk DJing, talk vinyl, talk digital, either way.
Yeah. So what's your kind of history with DJing? Just in a few minutes, tell us how you got into it, what you are into now, and so on.
Well, my history with DJing was, I guess my first real idea of what a DJ was the movie Juice. Had Tupac in it, had
Right. Yep.
a few other really, really good guys still today. And after that movie, I think I took my dad's records, anything from Elvis to a Hair album, which was a great musical back in the 70s. I cut up a bunch of newspaper in round circles and would scratch as a slip mat on my dad's turntables.
DIY.
Yeah. I just, I was like a 13-year-old kid. And by that time, 12, 13, that was the early 90s. My older sister was going to raves. And I would beg and plead. Some of the first crews, Justice Crew, Kimmy Huggins, Terry Rep, and
Howard.
Albert.
Howard,
And Howard, of course. I apologize, Howard. Those guys were throwing the first raves here in Dayton.
Those are all legendary names.
Legendary names.
They were before my time, but I've heard all of those names for years.
Yeah, those guys. Some are still around. Some are off in Pluto, crazy town. Anyway, I would just beg and plead. And Kimmy actually grew up with my older sister. Grade school, everything, and I would just ask him every question I could when I see him around. How do you do this? How do you do that? He told me just go to the shows, watch the guys play, and by the time I was about 15, I had my own job, got my own turntables, just started just in my bedroom for years. Then I got to my first show. It was one of Howard's spots, actually, on Front Street. Is
this late 90s?
This is late 90s by now. This is like 97, 98.
Okay.
Starting to be the late 90s, 96, 97 probably. Howard had a space with some other people on top of a warehouse really high up there. I remember the stairs walking up. And I begged and pleaded for him and to let me on. And I brought my records. It was hip hop at the time, old school hip hop. And I think I had this Fat Man Scoop track that was like a really hyped up It Takes Two.
Haven't heard that name in a while.
And it's Fat Man Scoop. I mean, it's like hype man, seriously, like let's go, let's party. And I threw that track on first. And I had Rob Bass's It Takes Two for the next track to juggle it.
The light bulb went off, huh?
Yeah. No, well, see, I was going to juggle both the hook. And I already practiced. But I didn't realize that, you got to check your mixer. I literally just dropped air like the biggest parachute just went... and there was nothing, and I'm trying to juggle, and I got kicked off.
Oh, ouch!
Instantly got kicked off.
Damn, no mercy.
I had people jamming to that Fat Man Scoop.
No mercy.
I could have just let that roll easily
Yeah.
if I had the knowledge. It was just don't even mess with it. Just let it roll.
So did that set you back, or did it?
No,
motivate
that
you?
just made me a better person, a better DJ,
Good.
a better, a bigger will to be better. And
That's a great answer.
And then comes in the Jaded idea of these kids going out to Best Buy, picking up an Apple computer, going to another shop, getting a program, and putting 2 tracks together like that. There's something missing today than there was in the yesteryear of really knowing your craft.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
Pre-digital.
Let's put a pin in that, because I want to come back to that.
When we're talking about gigs, though, I want you to tell them about the coolest gig that I think I've ever heard of, and the coolest place you've ever played.
For me personally,
Yes.
I was the coolest place I ever played was I was on an aircraft carrier in the U.S. Navy.
Yes.
And I've actually played the deck where the planes fly off twice.
Wow.
On the carrier. Right before we went into the war, to the Iraqi war, we were out to sea for about 45 days, and the Navy gives you a beer day if you're straight sea 45 days, no land, no nothing. We sat out in Philippine Sea waiting to see if we're going to war or not. We're going to war, we're not. We're going to war, we're going to not. Let's go kill some people. Let's not.
These people need some music stat.
Yeah. So for about 45 days, and then we went right before we went into the Straits and went into the Gulf. We had what they call an iron picnic, a steel picnic.
Okay.
And one of my friends had more gear than I did. I had my turntables, I had my records, but I didn't have the sound. And another actual guy that was in my department had all of it, and he did it all the time.
And not much room to spare on a ship like that.
No, we're on a carrier. My particular job, the whole ship was my shop, to say. Like, there wasn't anywhere in the ship that I didn't for my particular job. There's some guys that saw the same 4 walls for 3 years.
Oh wow, okay.
On that particular, but for me, I was somewhere everywhere, and so we had a lot of spaces. I had my own studio.
Okay.
Basically on the ship. So, but that right before we went to the war, we got up on, and I had at the time I was doing a lot of breaks, and we had a steel picnic up there, and I got to DJ up there on the carrier right before we went into the war. And then we went into the war, and then we were on our way back home, and then we were at our 90th day, and they did a steel picnic again. And we got to go up there for the second time, and I got to play on an aircraft carrier. So that was
I can't really compete with that.
pretty intense. Yeah, that was very, very intense.
So were they feeling it, or were they distracted? Or
everybody was just letting loose.
Nice.
Really, I mean, we had beer on the ship. You got 2 tickets, which those 2 tickets turned into 4. You knew another person, turned into 8, turned into 16. They're just, whoever really wanted to get hammered could have got hammered, and who didn't. And I was just too busy getting gear up and wanting to play and playing. We've also played in the hangar bay a few times. Set up the best night was Thanksgiving, Hong Kong. We were pulling into Hong Kong, and we probably had about 500, 600 people in the hangar bay just jamming out. We had b-boys. I was a b-boy at the time also. We had cardboard out, very large cardboard pieces, and we were all b-boying. I was DJing, doing everything, and we literally did have a party the night before we pulled into Hong Kong that night.
So you've never been all work and no play. Sounds like you've always managed to find time for.
Oh, of course, yeah,
your stuff.
Yeah. I'm the type of person that I'll learn my job, but am I goofing off and having a good time doing it? Yes, I'm never serious about anything.
Yeah, I like that. So I want to come back around to the Jaded thing, but real quick before I forget, what's the story? What's going on with Columbus, and where are you guys headed, and how long do I have you before you have to leave? Because I know you're on a schedule.
Roughly about another 35 or 40 minutes.
Okay.
I'm just going to, Marcus is taking me to Columbus because I'm going to Nashville and Charlotte for 2 festivals.
Oh, so you're flying out of Columbus?
No, we're on a tour bus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because we're going from Columbus to Nashville. We'll be in Nashville for the full week, and then we have the festival Friday, Saturday, and then most of the out for us will be Sunday, and then Monday's a drive day on the bus again, and we drive from Nashville to Charlotte and do a festival, a build the whole week, and then festival Friday, Saturday.
What was the name of the festival again?
Breakaway Music Festival.
Oh, this is for Breakaway.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And so what kind of artists are we talking about that you're going to be working with?
For Nashville, we have Wiz Khalifa, Grizz, Illenium, Lil Pump, Gucci Gang, Russ, Blau, Griffin, Lil Skies, DJ Diesel, which is Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq.
Yeah. Sheck West, Nightmare, Quincy 92, Justin Caruso, Mike Floss, Sean Frank, and then somebody got added to the lineup, and it was funny. This is a kind of a funny story. So Adam, the owner of our company, sends me an email, and he says, he's already in the email chain with somebody, and he CC'd me in, and he said, is this easy to facilitate? And, it's just a DI box with a couple XLR cables, whatever. And I said, yeah, it's not an easy plug and play, so we definitely need to make sure this happens prior to the festival, not just jump up for your set and do this. And he sends me a text when I'm in the email, and I responded, what I just said with the people in the email. And then he sends me a text, and he says, this is Adrian such and such that you're in an email with. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? So it's the guy from Entourage, the main guy of Entourage, Adrian.
Oh.
I can't think of his last name right now, but I'm sitting there talking with him. I'm like, holy shit.
Tony always just runs into these people on accident.
Yeah, it was pretty cool because I watched the whole series of Entourage and the movie, and I loved it, And then here I am sitting in an email talking with this guy in the email, like, wow, crazy. But I think it's his band. They're called Bailey, Bayli. They're playing. They just got added to the lineup.
Nice.
And then from there we go to Charlotte, which is.
Careful on the tabletop there. Mike picks that up.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
The other lineup is in Charlotte, and that is kind of the same lineup. It's Wiz Khalifa, Grizz, Nightmare, Lil Pump, and then we added Machine Gun Kelly. He's our headliner for Friday night.
And so, isn't Mo Dingo catching up with you at some point?
Yeah, he'll be in Charlotte. He's flying into Charlotte.
In Charlotte,
yeah.
Okay. He's somewhere right now, London, or I don't know if he's there yet.
He's in Texas.
San Antonio.
San Antonio,
Okay.
yeah. And then he's going to London. Then he's coming back here for a day, and then he's flying from here to Charlotte.
He had said all that, but I didn't realize that he was traveling around to do DJ stuff. I mean, I knew he was going to help you, but he's like doing CrossFit. Well, I don't know if he's
stuff.
He's
I think
DJing,
I
right?
think the one in San Antonio, but I think the one in London, I thought he said he was coaching the national team or something, like national CrossFit competition or something. He's coaching somebody.
Yeah, I told him he's hitting the ground running with this retirement thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he should. He's got a lot going on, man.
Yeah.
He's becoming quite the entrepreneur.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Okay, Marcus, let's talk about this. The first thing you said when you walked in the door, you said, I want to talk about being jaded.
I didn't say I wanted to talk about being jaded. I said...
Well, the word came up.
The word came up, yes. I didn't really expect to be on the show, actually.
Yeah. We totally threw you under the bus, and I'm putting your words in your mouth here. So you tell me what it is that's on your mind. You kind of hinted at the kids buying the MacBook and stuff, but I know that you're not one of these DJs that's just like you shun the technology and the whole thing because you're a tractor user.
No,
you've got
I mean when you're paying
modern stuff.
Back in the day, you're paying $15 for maybe 2 songs on a record. You got a dub side and maybe a vocal side, and that's $15. You can get 3-4 tracks, online, minus being just straight up free.
And it's a little bit lighter in weight.
Yeah, just a tad bit lighter in weight. I mean, like that Hong Kong story I told you about. I remember being in Australia dragging my records and my mixer through Australia when I talked to a bar owner to let me play. You know, I mean, that's a lot of weight. You know, I had like, 50 records and a mixer.
Required a lot of hustle, a lot of one-on-one
hustle. I believe one of your old podcasts with Donnie, you know, these back then he got to get to know the artists coming up. Now these artists today are just like boom, instant. There's no like gradual gains. It's just either you're a hit or you're not today. You know, you're nobody. Oh my God, you're somebody. There's no gradual like you don't see it inside the industry. If you're inside the industry, you don't see the gradualness of it. If you're outside the industry and you meaning you're a fan, you're not doing the shows, you're not promoting the shows,
you're
not
a patron.
You know, all of a sudden know about this person. Well, today the people inside the industry all of a sudden know this person, and there's no, you don't see these people just gradually, climbing the ladder.
Let me ask your perspective on that, Tony. Do you agree with that? Seeing what you see, kind of
social
sort
media
of from the inside.
Yeah, social media does help that out a lot. I mean, one song with a couple paid posts and it has 1 million plays, the promoters are digging in to find out who that person is.
You can argue whether or not the music or the mixing or whatever has anything to do with that sudden popularity.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can't confirm nor can I deny that some of them aren't even mixing.
Right.
But it's really, it seems like it's the avatar. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's with or without the mouse head, or with or without, and I'm not saying like any of those guys don't have talent, because they do, but in today's, it's about the avatar, instant success. It's not like that with everybody. We don't see everybody's hustle, because everybody starts off. I don't think that your little Uzi Vert, all of a sudden everybody knows about him, because I've seen him from, like 12 Fest to our second year of Breakaway to headlining one of the nights at Number Fest. You know what I mean? But there is, with social media, it's a lot easier to get that instant success and not have to have any growth.
Does that play into your thoughts? I mean, is it all about that? Like, people get known for things?
No. I'm not jealous of the fact that they're famous already. I'm more of annoyed with the crowds than the people on stage.
Okay.
If anything, being
like they're not there for the right
being
reasons.
Being a dancer myself, not just a break dancer. I mean, a dancer, just loving to dance. I have always believed that it's as natural as breathing as a human to dance. You put a baby in front of a speaker playing "Whoa, Bitch," the baby's going to dance to that beat.
Right.
It doesn't. The baby doesn't, care. But what it is that people are too busy videotaping their experiences, not experiencing it.
Watching what's happening right in front of them through a tiny window.
Nobody's dancing either. There's no, everything's, there's no real like style dance of anything anymore today, especially at the big festivals, because they're so packed. There's no real room to dance.
There's some dancing. There's what they call shuffling.
Well, yeah, but that's the Running Man. I mean, you can't tell me shuffling is not the damn Running Man. And
which the Running Man was what before
was
that?
The early '90s MC Hammer.
Yeah, the Chinese typewriter.
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell me shuffling's. I mean,
I'm not saying it's new by any means, but there are kids dancing.
Well, yeah, of course, but I don't think. But if like people throw like old school raves up on the Facebook all the time, okay, and like you see the crowd dancing. Period.
Yeah, it's more
That's
vibey.
True.
The crowd is straight up dancing. And I don't think the drugs are as good as today as they were back then. And I didn't do the drugs back then. I swear. I'm a very sober person since I was 19 years old.
I think a lot of the festival stuff, all the things that you see from front row to halfway back, is more of a rage. They like to jump up and down. They wait for the build. They jump up and down. And last week I was watching one of my favorite acts that we had in Michigan. His name is Big Wild. Amazing. And I was side stage and I took a video, and the whole front row, actually the first 10 rows, had no idea what to do. And I zoomed in on this girl, and this girl was just sitting here like this. Just a frown on her face, because you know what I mean? And if you look halfway back, his music was really vibey. It was like 7 o'clock, and it's really, really good stuff. But a lot of those kids didn't understand it. They were waiting for that trap hard drop. When can I jump up and down moment? You know what I mean? So I see what you're saying, because it's like, even back then it was a vibe and everybody was grooving, and now it's jump up and down.
Well, like the guy from Swedish Mafia said, it's 10 times easier to make a top 10 record right now than it is to make an underground record. To make a really dope underground record is way harder from just the idea of it than just making something like
Right. So you mentioned that you started in hip hop DJ wise. Is that true?
Yeah. I started hip hop DJ. I mean,
and then you went
it
to
was
Raves.
very hard for me, a kid in Dayton, Ohio, to find. The internet was not what it was today.
Right.
I would have to drive either to Cincy or Columbus to find a record shop that actually had techno, or had breaks that I liked that back then.
Have you always been? Have you always leaned towards that underground sound once you started going to the raves and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. I just especially like the nightclubs here in town were really, really good back then. Asylum, Matt Freeman was the resident DJ back then. That dude,
former guest on the show.
Yes, I mean he can look at a crowd and just wipe it clean. Just kill them.
Which he did at Oakenfold the other day.
He did. Yes, sir, he did.
I mean, he's that kind of DJ. And then you had 1470s, which is a totally different crowd, but back, late 90s, a lot of it was getting to be pretty hardcore, mainstream hardcore raver kind of days. So
what I'm getting at here is, do you feel like, I guess, how much does the change of in the music,
like the pop and like today's music is,
how much does the change popular in the sound affect your jadedness?
I mean, I'm trying to think of a scenario.
Are you saying within rap or EDM?
Anything. Just as it relates to DJing and the scene, I guess.
I think it's very pop right now. It's very popular. The idea of,
you're talking like electronic,
the 4 on the floor, reverse hi-hat, popular music today. It's very like I said, EDM. It's, if I hear someone say, yeah, I listen to EDM, well, I kind of roll my eyes. Like, I listen to techno. You know what I'm saying?
You are such an elitist.
Like this, there's a DJ out of Michigan who, in Detroit of all places, decided to call me a techno elitist one day. And
you can say his name because we talk about him all the time. He's a great guy.
I'm not going to talk. Yeah. He's a nice guy. I don't know.
Call him out.
No, I'm not
I will if you don't.
Do not, please. So, I just, as you know, just the idea of the popularity of it compared to what the popularity side that's on the radio. Yeah, some of it's great. But at the same time, the stuff that's not on the radio, the people like Green Velvet and those guys. I mean, even he's on the radio back in the late '80s. early 90s with the Percolator, he was on the radio. I mean, you couldn't turn on 92.1 back in the late 90s. You know, that song's already been out 10 years and hear Percolator.
I had a conversation with Paul actually in the car, and we were talking about the same thing. Like, and Sasha even said it in an interview about a month ago. And it's EDM. It is pop, and there's good stuff out there. It's just nothing that we go to listen for. But it's opening the door for those kids when they get older, and that's something that I've seen with a lot of the PSG kids. You know, the ones when I first started with PSG that were 18, 19, 20. They're now 25, 26, and now they're listening to Green Velvet and Claptone and Richie Hawtin.
These guys who just want to hear these huge buildups and breakdowns and just these bass drops and whatever they. But you go find somebody like Eats Everything and actually stand there and listen. You won't start. First of all, you will start dancing, and then you'll start understanding the vibe and a DJ actually taking you on a story rather than building you up and breaking you down, building you up, breaking you down, and just like Eats Everything killed it last year.
Dirty Bird did a good job at doing that and bringing a good crossover.
Like John Digweed, you know, Sasha. I mean, those people might want to say those are old school DJs, but those DJs, you know, will take you on a story for 5-6 hours without even trying.
Do you think that, however you want to refer to it, dance music, EDM, the scene, do you think it's gotten too big?
Yeah, well, like I said earlier with my sister, back in the day, going to the raves, and I would beg her and beg her and beg her to take me. Well, when I was going to the raves, and I would beg her, she had stopped. You know, but I would beg her to come party with me, come dance with me. And I was working in Nadim party, his second party. Nadim was another promoter here in Dayton at the time. Mirror Image, I believe, was his company with Jason and some other people. And I begged her one night to come to the show. And her idea of a rave was completely different, and this is the height of Dayton rave scene when I had her come. Now she went to the ones,
that was 97.
You know, she went to the ones 4 or 5 years prior to that and was part of that scene then.
Because it was getting steam and
that was
discovering
those
itself.
like
Illuminators.
You could go to the Dayton Boys Club and say, hey, I want to throw a party tonight all night. Do you mind if I rent your place? They had no idea what they were saying yes to. And Kimmy and them, they threw a party at the Dayton Gym Club. Not Gym Club, Dayton Boys and Girls Club. It's a completely different place.
So, Tony, you joke around about the elitist word, but you really do wish that the scene was a little smaller and more refined. Is that fair to say?
I see it getting smaller today. I see it. You 2016, 2015.
You're talking locally or worldwide?
Globally, back then, you know, 5 years ago, it was ridiculous.
You agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it feels like it's shrinking.
I think it's...
or maybe just not on.
I don't think it's shrinking.
Steamroll.
I just think it's shifting a little bit.
Festivals are becoming less reliant on EDM names.
Yeah, they're starting, like rap is starting to get,
it's coming back
to get its blow up again. The people that were going for just the actual festival and you know, the fun in the festival, they got older. They're slowing down.
Back to my point though, I wanted to say is that when my sister went to that rave, real quick, I just want to throw it out.
Go ahead.
She was totally, she was like, this isn't what I knew. You know, this is totally different. She didn't like it.
It was too big for her.
It wasn't too big. It was too obviously druggy.
Oh,
back
I see.
then when they were doing it, they were doing things, but it wasn't so just like,
look at all my drugs.
Look at me.
Candy kids and all that.
The candy kids were being popular then, but she was just like, she couldn't believe, they couldn't go to the bathroom without being offered drugs. Back
so, like,
then,
grossed her
everybody had
out.
their own shit and did it discreetly. You might take a tab of acid that night and just dance all night.
So too
But you weren't
sketchy.
saying,
Too.
hey, I'm on acid. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't. She didn't like the scene. She didn't like my scene. Which almost hurt. I loved it. I'm what, 20 plus years into it now. I haven't left it. I don't think I'll ever leave it. But I can still bitch about
it. You've earned it. You've done your time, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking back. So the first time or two that we met was some of my first gigs.
Night Owl.
Night Owl. We didn't really know each other back then, but
we had long hair back then.
Yeah, I sure did. And I was, we're talking over 10 years ago, 12, 13 years ago.
I got home from the Navy in 2006, so it was around
That's
then.
about right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to our mutual friend, Mary Catherine,
Susan.
And Susan, yeah.
They did the promotions then.
Yeah.
I had actually a fun story about Night Out DJing.
Okay.
Came home from the war, and I begged Susan to get, who was throwing those shows back then. It was, anyway.
It was Matt and Matt.
Both of them were Matts. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it was like when
we have a lot of
like
Matts in Dayton.
Tuesday night where everybody showed up in Dayton for a Tuesday night, house and techno kind of thing. And I begged Susan to talk those guys to let me play when I got home from the ship. And Susan said, do not mess with my name. Basically, don't make me look bad.
Oh.
I practiced that set over. I mean, I knew those records like back and forth, and that was the second time I played in Dayton, basically. From getting kicked off the decks years prior to playing Dayton again.
So when did you leave?
2002.
Okay, so you came back to the severe lull in the scene that I came into. There's like when I came in, there was nothing. This is after the war,
which is what, 2004. So that was when Night Owl was really.
So it's a little before. Okay, before 2006, 2007.
I was still just 2 years in the Navy.
Okay.
I came home after the war for 30 days.
So it hadn't fully crashed yet.
No. But those guys asked me to come back to play the next time. And why? Because between me getting kicked off the decks and me playing there, and having a very good friend of mine who, during the war, had an email for me every day. I didn't want to mess up, ruin her name. Don't make her look bad. I didn't want to, make her look bad. Hey, I got this guy. You have no idea who he is, but you should let him play.
So now you're not just worrying about your own name, you're worrying about somebody else's name.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
responsibility all of a sudden.
There's a lot of pressure. And I mean, I've never been so nervous in my life. And to play that, and then the Mats, I guess you could say, come up and ask me to play the next week was really cool. Really,
so you got that validation.
Validation, yeah, because it was the second time I ever played in Dayton at that time, from getting kicked off in 97 to 2002, 2004.
I know we said like maybe if Marcus feels like talking, we'll let him talk, and then we just started hurling questions at him for the past half an hour. But at what point did you start to feel, let's say, disenchanted with the scene, whether that's locally or globally? I'm not sure which happened first or what, but
the saturation. I was living at the Dayton Towers.
It's like dubstep era.
I knew that was going to be a fad.
Okay.
It took a little longer to die out than I expected. I hope for. But I mean, there's some good tracks. There's some actual like DJs who DJ'd prior to the dubstep era that actually knew how to play, a track to another track. And those guys were good. But the DJs who had no idea how to play a track to another track and played, that's what ticked me off.
You don't think those people were always around?
Mm-mm.
Well, I mean, I knew the people. No,
it's an honest question. It's before my time.
I don't think so, because I think with that came the popularity of being a DJ.
Mm.
And it was, again, like Marcus said at the beginning, it started to become easier to go out and get a controller.
Well, the dubstep
The
era
barrier of
and
entry thing.
the electronic sync button era were hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, you got to be able to have an idea of what track selection, a good song. You have to understand what a good song is and what isn't. And then you have to be able to convey those songs, but then you have to be able to read the crowd. I mean, all the computer today, like, I know I went to go play a gig at Therapy Cafe one time, and it was completely dead. Yeah, a bunch of real estate people rolled in, and I had my computer at the time, and so I just started playing swing music. I mean, there's nobody else there.
Just flip the switch.
Why would I care to play, house music?
Yeah.
For a bunch of people who could care less to hear house music.
I have
the power to either let them sit there and drink at the bar that I'm DJing at.
Do you or do them?
Yeah.
Or just play towards them for a little while.
Which that's a good quality to have.
Just play a little swing music, some.
I've had to do that, and I've also had to not only turn a gig down, but stop doing a recurring gig that I was doing for that reason. And I've talked about it on the show before. It's been a while, but you brought up Matt Freeman. He and I used to play at Solar, and we did a deep house night.
Yeah, I mean,
and their clientele wanted Latin music, and they kept telling us that, and we're like, we just don't have that. We don't play that, and so it was like we came to the owners and we're like, look, we really want to do our own thing here, and we don't want to like piss off all your customers. So,
right.
And we just kind of mutually walked away from it.
You have to either you're in Rome or when in Rome.
Yeah. Do you find that you mix differently now than you did before you were feeling this way?
Yes, I purposely trashed my controller.
Whoever wants to answer that, by the way.
I apologize.
Yeah, go ahead.
I trashed my controller.
Really?
I don't like it. It's still there. Okay, it collects dust now, but I purposely went from tractor to tractor scratch, only because there's certain things I miss. I miss feeling the dots on my fingers when the turntable's turning, and you just barely need to slow a track down to keep it locked in. That feel on the dots, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I miss on
the side of the platter.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the fuck up. You can't. I mean, you can mess up on tractors just on a controller. Yes.
Sure.
But you really have to try hard.
So you felt it was changing your mixing to a point where
it's a live experience. When I'm DJing to a crowd, it's a live experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's not somebody. I'm not just put a CD in. I mean, people can do that, but a live experience. There's it's my craft, and I'm giving it to you. It's no longer mine. It's the crowd's. So when an artist puts out a painting, it's no longer the artist's painting. It's the person, it's the crowd's, it's the person who takes that painting.
So you take the artful approach of this is how the listener interprets.
Yeah. So like if I'm not completely locked in, I don't care. I mean, I want to be locked in.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be from one track to the other, and I want it to be
like
on,
that
on
human
count,
element.
And know those things. But, yeah, sure, having 4 tracks going at the same time, making something completely different, that's a skill. And, like people like Richie Houghton, or Dubfire, or, a bunch of other people that do that kind of mixing today. Those guys are artists. That's their art. I mean, Richie Houghton wants just this guy's hi-hat. He'll do it, and he'll put it onto something else. But that's not how I want to play. I pick the music that I want to play, the track, the record, and play. And I don't like And the hour sets, the 2 hour sets, I don't like those either.
So it's long, like 5, 6 plus, or nothing for you.
Yeah, I like the resident DJs, like the Matt Freemans back in the Asylum days. I mean, he started playing, around 10 and went to, 4 or 5. I mean, those clubs back then went after hours. They turned the lights on, take all the glasses, all the beer bottles, turn the lights back off, and you kept going.
That's definitely something that's hugely changed. Is, I mean, like a lot of these festival sets that you prepare for, I mean, some of them are 40 minutes and shit. It's like,
how many tracks you can get in, how many drops you can get in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Like at a certain point, and the crowd's expecting to hear certain tracks and certain hits and things like that and their favorites, and so you cram it all together. And
it's when you have your headliners are different. Your headliners will play your hour and a half. Actually, not even an hour and a half, hour and 15 at the festivals. The rest of the guys.
The rest of us feel like we're just getting started.
Yeah.
In an hour and 15. Which is a frustrating thing, and it's hard to.
But they also have their music is vastly different than ours, though.
Sure.
It's a verse, chorus, and out. It's like DJ AM. It was a verse, chorus, and during that chorus, he's already mixing that first 32 of the next song in and out. It's party rocking. It's and we have to think about the attention span.
You can't do that all. I mean, the whole day. There has to be a climb.
Well, that's why there's 15 artists on the bill, so each one of them can do it.
I
say that lightweight joking,
but but I prefer if I'm going to go party, I just want to jam some top 40 stuff at the beginning of the night.
That's one thing that it's really kept me into. Not that I do it all the time, but into the idea of the house party or the small gathering, like just to get together with the homies, because you can do that, or you can do the 6 hours tag sets, or however you end up doing it, and you can all actually get into it and feel like you're participating in this little musical whatever ecosystem thing that's happening. That it's a different experience than you can get from this shift into festival culture, and that's how people consume live music now.
But club culture back, in the day was that feeling. Was that feeling of this vibe of slowly coming up to like the real party hardy hardcore. Let's 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, just going hard, having fun. And then it came back down, and
I mean, I remember DJing in the top 40 clubs back then too. It was, you played your more R&B-ish stuff, and then at 12-1, you play your popular stuff. But in between those, like, roughly, if I start music at 9, by 11:50 or 12 o'clock, I would play, like, 2 or 3 slow jams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just bring it down and slow jam, pop it,
Yeah, and then come back in right after those slow jams and start building it. And you close them off at the end of the night with some more slow jams, so they don't leave the club pissed off and angry. They want to go bang.
Well, and then you got those people that come to the club early and want to hear the most popular badass song at the time.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm like, no way.
So what would like sort of rescue, what would make you feel better, I guess? Like what change in the scene or what shift would you most like to see?
A smaller lineups, longer sets.
So a shift back towards that.
Yeah. Maybe, I mean, you can have 6, 7 stages. That's fine. That's cool.
With 6 or 7 artists, right?
Yeah. But like a 2-hour set from, I heard I saw a thing on Facebook not too long ago. It's like foreplay.
Right.
You're not really getting into the good shit.
Right.
It's just 2 hours of foreplay, and then they're like, oh.
Yeah.
But an artist plays 4, 5, 6 hours, then you're getting into the meat, like
right.
John Chappell, you can, if you ever talk to him again, I was almost demanding 2-3 hour sets by the end of the time I stopped playing. Not because I was technically jaded. I just wanted to get a groove going. I was even bringing a live PA out with my set. It was fun, but the crowd the crowd's what made me jaded. It's
Their
when I saw the
attention
crowd
span.
at the local level. When I saw the crowd at the local level, and the DJs that were coming in to me, should have been kicked off those decks, or had no business even being on stage. That's why I left. I haven't left the scene. I left the local scene and became jaded over the crowd. And the crowd wasn't dancing anyway. The crowd was there was no, I mean, it was
Became a
hard-
social gathering.
became a social gathering. It didn't become, hey, let's go out and dance. I can out dance any of these kids today. And I smoked I used to. I just quit about 3 weeks ago. And that's why I'm really kind of jerky right now. But I could still out dance any of these kids out there today. Right now.
You
Sounds
know,
like a battle.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
Maybe that's what'll get you back out. I gotta
Yeah.
show these kids up.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean,
You still come out though.
If
Yeah.
you only got the what they call it, the shuffle.
Yeah.
If you only got the Running Man, I have bad news for you. You're gonna lose.
Well, we're lucky enough to have people like you, Tony and Billy, to bring shows like this to us where we normally would not get them anymore. Have you recorded a set?
Oh gosh.
ever?
Hang on
recently?
before we go into that. While we're on the Oakenfold show,
Sure.
I want to know your perspective, Marcus, and David, yours as patrons and seeing the show from the outside.
I think I said this on my Facebook. If I'm going to go and know I'm going to listen to trance all night for a solid, 2 hour, 3 hour set, there's very few people I would want to hear play trance. And it was fabulous. It's the newer trance. I remember the trance back in the day was more landscapey,
Mm-hmm.
but this is more, in your face kind of trancey,
Mhm.
but it was fabulous. I mean, you can't not enjoy a seasoned DJ, no matter how new or how old, if they're truly a true DJ, and not enjoy it. And I had a blast.
From a dancer's perspective, what did you think of the crowd and how they were interacting and feeling with the music? Did they?
They can get enough of it.
Yeah.
I know there was.
Were
one
you
guy,
happy seeing that?
Oh gosh, yeah. It was a fabulous crowd that night.
Mhm.
A lot of people came out of the woodwork that I hadn't seen in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, there's this one DJ that opened for Benny Benassi one night that had the crowd. The opener had the crowd in the palm of his hands. And
I was watching you.
Just pointed at Tony for
"What are you
those listening on the radio audience.
and Tony is a very respectful DJ, and I think he saw what was happening, and he went with it. Was he trying to overdo Benny that night? No, he just saw the crowd and was doing it, and the crowd was really digging it. He wasn't trying to one up him. It just kind of happened that way.
Thank you.
And I think Benny probably saw that too, but he did have to come out with something very, very strong after Tony was done. But like I said, the Paul Oakenfold show and that Tony show, to see the actual crowd just really be engulfed in the music, that it's been a while.
Those are some big accolades.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I have to confess that I probably missed the best parts of Oakenfold's actual time slot. I caught a lot of beginning and end.
Mm-hmm.
My wife actually came out, which she never does, and so I was interacting with
surprising,
people
yes.
and her friends, and then I got caught up outside, and then I recorded with Tripp to get his first reaction off the decks. So I missed a lot of it, but not all of it. And I've already said Tripp blew the roof off that place.
Yes, he did.
So did Matt. And I saw the same thing that you saw, Marcus. I saw people dancing and bouncing around and in that autonomous zone where they're inside this musical experience and dancing and not really having a care in the world, which is really what you want. It's that rave experience.
Yeah.
I think other cities the size of ours need more of this. because they really don't know what they're missing.
Right.
I mean, people my age or younger, probably most of them will never get to experience that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I have people like you to thank for bringing that experience to me, because like I said, when I came into it, it was like I heard remnants and saw remnants, but to be able to, even in today's modern festival-y climate, to be able to experience that is really cool.
And that intimate of a room.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah, you see these guys on these massive stages, man. It's not homey. You get in that room and you're right there. I love that feeling. But thank
Sound
you.
is
Thank you.
fabulous.
I know you guys are in a hurry. Is there anything else that you guys want to plug or share or talk about before we wrap it up?
No.
Well, Marcus, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah,
thanks
man.
for being such a good sport.
Yeah.
Doing this completely unplanned and unscripted and randomly. And
Random.
let me extend the invitation for you to come over here and mix in Passionate DJ Studios for as many hours as you want.
Cheers.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, and thanks for listening and watching. And this has been the Passionate DJ Podcast.
See ya.